The Mocked Believer, HFY Sci-Fi Story. The Galactic Military Academy floated in orbit above a dying red star, a place where young minds from every known species trained to serve the mighty Galactic Council. Hundreds of cadets from dozens of worlds filled the long metal corridors, their voices echoing with laughter, debate, and the sound of machinery. Among them walked a quiet girl named Lyra, her features soft, her eyes bright blue, her movements calm and disciplined. She wore the same silver uniform as the others, but somehow she always stood out. Not because she was loud or proud, but because of the strange rumor that followed her everywhere. They said she believed in a world that never existed, a place called Earth. Every time Lyra mentioned the word, the other cadets would burst into laughter. Earth, one reptilian cadet hissed mockingly. The home of the mythical Deathworlders, another shouted. She still believes in fairy tales. Even her instructors smiled with quiet pity, thinking it was a harmless delusion. But Lyra never argued. She simply looked at them with calm eyes and said, "One day, the truth will speak for itself." During meals, she often sat alone, reading from an old data pad she never allowed anyone else to see. The others whispered that it contained human stories, maybe even human war records, but no one could verify it, because no one dared touch it. Some said the pad was ancient technology, older than the council itself. Others claimed it was just an old diary filled with her fantasies. Whatever it was, the Academy soon learned one thing. Wherever Lyra went, strange things followed. Lights flickered when she passed, sensors glitched, and even the automatic doors hesitated before opening for her. The technicians blamed it on system lag, but the older officers whispered that it was something else, something the systems recognized but could not name. One cold morning, the Academy announced a high-alert combat drill. All cadets were ordered to gather in the central hall for a test of emergency response. It was a huge event. Hundreds of students standing shoulder to shoulder, their armor shining under bright lights. The instructors shouted commands while holographic enemies filled the room with light and sound. "Activate your biometrics," barked Commander Terrell, his deep voice cutting through the noise. "Let's see who can disable the simulated alarms fastest." One by one, cadets placed their hands on the glowing control pads. The alarms blared, sensors flashed red. Data streamed through the air. Alien cadets competed, each trying to silence the system faster than the rest. Laughter filled the hall as one cadet shouted, "Maybe the human believer should try next." The crowd turned to Lyra, their faces full of amusement. She didn't flinch, she didn't even blink. Without a word, she stepped forward, her silver boots echoing on the metal floor. Commander Terrell frowned but nodded, curious to see what the myth believer could do. "Go ahead, Cadet Lyra," he said. "Show us your faith in fairy tales." Lyra placed her palm on the biometric pad, her fingers trembling slightly. For a second, nothing happened. Then, without warning, the room filled with a blinding blue light. The alarms that had screamed moments before suddenly fell silent. Every console, every sensor, every light across the hall froze in perfect stillness. The silence was absolute. The simulated enemies vanished mid-attack. The giant holoscreens displayed a single symbol, a glowing blue circle with a vertical line through it. It pulsed softly like a heartbeat, ancient and familiar. Commander Terrell's scales turned pale green. "What in the void is that?" he whispered. The symbol flickered and a deep mechanical voice echoed through the hall. "Human command authorization detected." Gasps filled the room. Cadets stepped back, fear replacing laughter. The Academy's main AI, a system said to be older than many civilizations, was reacting to Lyra's presence. One of the technicians shouted, "That's impossible. Humanity is extinct." Those codes were deleted thousands of years ago. But the systems didn't care about history. They obeyed something older, deeper, something written into their very design. Lyra's hand remained on the pad, her eyes wide but unafraid. The blue light faded slowly, leaving the hall in a strange, heavy silence. She looked up and said softly, "You see now, Earth was never a myth." Commander Terrell took a step forward, his voice trembling. "What are you?" Lyra turned her gaze to him, her voice calm and quiet. "I'm just a student who remembers what others forgot." Without warning, the power across the Academy flickered again. This time, the control panels on the walls began flashing one after another. The same message appeared on every display. Terran systems reactivating. Panic spread among the cadets. Technicians ran to terminals shouting, "We can't stop it." The mainframe is responding to her input. Lyra stood still, watching the chaos unfold with an unreadable expression. Then she said something no one understood. She whispered in an old human language, a word no translator could decode. And just like that, the systems calmed, the lights stabilized, and the academy returned to normal operation. But everyone in that hall knew something impossible had just happened. Something buried in history had awakened as the silence returned. Commander Tyrell looked at Lyra and said, "You will report to the Dean immediately." Lyra nodded, picked up her data pad, and walked calmly through the crowd. No one laughed this time, no one dared whisper. The cadets who had mocked her now watched her like she was something sacred, something dangerous, and somewhere deep inside the Academy's data vaults, a dormant signal pulsed again, searching the void for its origin, a signal that once belonged to a world everyone thought was gone forever, a world called Earth. The silent alarm. HFY Sci-Fi Story. The entire Academy trembled after what had happened in the hall. For the first time in its long history, the central alarm network had gone completely silent. The systems that monitored every heartbeat, every motion, every energy pulse had shut down in total obedience to one cadet. No one dared to speak of it out loud, but fear had already spread faster than light. Lyra sat quietly in a small observation chamber, her hands folded in her lap, her face calm but her mind racing. Outside the glass wall, Commander Tyrell and a group of senior officers whispered in hushed tones, their eyes never leaving her. She touched the main control node, one said nervously, and the entire grid stopped responding. That's not possible, another replied. Only Council Command can override the Defense Corps. Unless, Tyrell murmured, she carries something older than the Council. Inside the chamber, Lyra stared at her own reflection, trying to understand what had happened. When her hand touched the pad, it had felt like something inside her recognized the system, like meeting an old friend after 1,000 years of silence. She could still hear the faint echo of that mechanical voice repeating inside her head. Human command authorization detected. Her heart beat faster, and for the first time she felt afraid. She had dreamed of proving Earth was real, but she had never imagined it would answer back. Now the proof was too powerful, too dangerous. The Academy's systems were linked to the Galactic Council itself. If the Council knew that a human had reactivated a forbidden protocol, they would come for her, and they would not come in peace. The glass door slid open with a soft hiss, and Commander Tyrell entered, his expression unreadable. He studied her for a long moment before speaking. "Cadet Lyra," he said slowly, "you are to come with us to the Central Command Chamber." Lyra stood, her gaze steady. "Am I under arrest?" Tyrell shook his head. "That depends on what we find." As they walked through the corridors, everyone stopped to stare. The same cadets who had mocked her now pressed themselves against the walls, whispering as she passed, "Is it true?" Someone murmured. She silenced the alarms with her hand. Another hissed, "She's not one of us, she's something else." Lyra kept her eyes forward, each step echoing through the tense silence. The command chamber was a vast room filled with holographic displays and glowing symbols. At its center hovered a sphere of light, the AI core of the Academy, directly linked to the Galactic Network. Its voice had guided generations of cadets. Yet now it pulsed weakly as if waiting. Commander Tyrell gestured toward the interface. "Place your hand here again." Lyra hesitated, then slowly extended her fingers. The moment her skin touched the surface, the room darkened. All displays went black except for one symbol, the same blue circle with the vertical line. Then a deep voice resonated through every speaker, calm and emotionless. "Identity confirmed. Terran genetic signature verified. System link restored." Gasps filled the chamber. Tyrell's eyes widened. "Terran? Genetic signature?" he whispered. The AI's light grew brighter, forming patterns in the air. Maps of ancient star routes. Lists of fleets. Codes written in old Earth language. Data that no alien mind had seen for thousands of years. Lyra's lips parted in awe. "It's all still here," she whispered. "The old systems never died." Suddenly, the AI shifted tone, its voice colder, deeper. "Warning, Council interference detected. Activating Terran security protocol." Red light filled the room. Consoles locked, communication channels sealed. Tyrell shouted, "Shut it down!" "Disconnect the link." Technicians rushed to obey, but every command was rejected. The AI repeated, "Authorization denied, awaiting command from Terran authority." Everyone turned to Lyra. Her pulse raced and she whispered, "Cancel alert." Not sure what would happen. To their shock, the red lights faded instantly. The systems returned to normal, and the AI replied softly, "Command acknowledged." Standing by, Terrell stared at her, his voice shaking. How did you do that?" Lyra looked down at her hands. "I think it recognized me." Terrell's voice lowered. "Do you understand what this means, cadet? You may have just proven that humanity existed, and worse, that their technology still lives." Lyra met his gaze. "Is that a bad thing?" The commander hesitated, then said quietly, "To the council, yes." Moments later, a communication ping echoed through the chamber, a transmission from the Galactic Council itself. Marked with highest priority, the screen flickered, showing the shadowed faces of the council elders. "Commander Terrell," a cold voice spoke, "we've detected a reactivation of a forbidden human protocol within your station. Identify the source immediately." Terrell's eyes flickered toward Lyra, but he said nothing. The elder's tone sharpened. "If a Terran device or being has awakened, it must be contained or destroyed." Lyra felt the weight of their words press down on her chest. She realized now that her presence alone could spark fear across the galaxy. "The council feared what they could not control," she whispered. "They think I'm a weapon." Terrell looked at her, his face grim. "Maybe you are. Or maybe you're something even more dangerous, a reminder." The council's image faded. The room left in silence once again. Terrell turned away. "You'll stay under observation until we understand this." He motioned for 2 guards to escort her. But as they approached, the AI spoke again, its tone suddenly urgent. "Unauthorized containment order detected. Overriding local command." The doors sealed shut, locking everyone inside. Every terminal displayed a single line of text in glowing blue letters. "Awaiting Terran command." Lyra took a slow breath, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't mean for this to happen." Terrell stared at her. "Then why is it listening to you?" Lyra's eyes filled with light from the holograms around her. "Because," she said softly, "it remembers who I am. Even if I don't." Outside, the stars flickered, and across the network of the Academy, long-dormant satellites turned their sensors toward deep space. Far beyond the edge of known systems, something old and silent began to move, and for the first time in 10,000 years, the galaxy itself held its breath. The Forbidden Archives, HFY Sci-Fi Story. The Academy never returned to normal after that day. Whispers filled every corridor, echoing through the cold metal halls like ghosts of old wars. Some cadets called her the Terran. Others called her the Myth, but everyone feared her now. Not because she was cruel, but because she had awakened something that should have stayed buried. Lyra was kept under constant watch, escorted everywhere by guards who refused to meet her eyes. She didn't blame them. She could feel it too, the sense that the air itself trembled whenever she passed. The Academy's AI no longer responded to standard commands. It answered only to her. No one dared to admit it. But the truth was clear. The system recognized her as its superior. Commander Terrell spent sleepless nights in his quarters. Reading through ancient council records, he discovered fragments of erased files. Documents marked Terran protocols, restricted access. Most were corrupted or deleted, but one small section remained. It spoke of humanity's final message before the council erased them from history. It warned that one day the children of Earth would return, carrying the codes that would awaken every Terran system hidden across the stars. When Terrell read those words, he felt cold fear crawl up his spine. He realized the Academy was no longer safe. Not for Lyra, not for anyone. If the council discovered what she was, they would erase her just like they erased her people. But curiosity burned stronger than fear, and he needed answers. That night, he entered the restricted archive chamber, a deep vault sealed behind layers of security and forgotten technology. Lyra followed quietly, escorted by 2 guards who looked more nervous than trained. When the doors slid open, a rush of cold air poured out, filled with the scent of dust and old data. Rows of ancient memory cores blinked faintly in the darkness, untouched for centuries. Terrell activated a console and spoke softly. "AI core, authorization Terrell 09. The system hesitated, then responded. "Authorization partial. Awaiting Terran clearance." Everyone turned to Lyra. She stepped forward, her heart pounding. "Try my access," she said quietly. She placed her hand on the old console, and at once, every light in the chamber turned blue. The AI's voice filled the room again, deeper and older than before. Terran signature verified. Project Terra Nova access granted. The air shimmered, and holograms burst to life around them, records, star maps, battle logs, and images of humans standing beside alien allies. Lyra's breath caught. Tears filled her eyes as she saw faces like hers, faces from Earth. "This is real," she whispered. "They were here." Tyrell stared in shock. "The Council lied," he muttered. "They didn't destroy humanity. They hid them." As the holograms continued, a strange figure appeared. A recording of an old human admiral. His uniform dark and sharp, his voice calm. "If you are seeing this," the image said, "then the Council has won the silence war. But they cannot erase the code, not forever. One of our children will return, and through them, Earth will rise again." The projection flickered and repeated those words. Lyra trembled, her heart pounding like thunder. "They knew," she whispered. "They knew I'd come." Suddenly, the room darkened and the holograms vanished. Replaced by red warning lights, the AI spoke urgently. "Council surveillance detected. Data trace inbound," Tyrell cursed. "They found us." Guards rushed to secure the doors, but the systems began to override their locks. The Council's digital enforcement drones were already invading the network. Trying to shut down the archive, Lyra acted on instinct, her voice sharp and commanding. "Lock Protocol 72, reroute to ghost frequency." The AI paused, then replied. Command accepted. In seconds, the intruding signals vanished, their trace cut off midstream. Tyrell stared at her in disbelief. "How did you do that?" Lyra didn't answer. She simply said, "Because it remembers me." From the darkness, another hologram appeared, this time a blueprint of something massive. A ship, ancient and terrifying, labeled Terran Ark Vessel Eden Prime. Tyrell frowned. "That's impossible. Those ships were myths." Lyra stepped closer, her hand brushing the glowing projection. "No," she said softly. "They were waiting." The AI's voice lowered to a whisper. "Beacon signal active, Terran vessel inbound." Everyone froze. Tyrell turned to her, his voice shaking. "You've called it, haven't you?" Lyra looked at him with quiet certainty. "I didn't call it," she said. "It heard me." Outside, alarms began to echo through the academy once more. Not the usual red blare of danger, but a deep, rhythmic pulse that vibrated through metal and air alike. The kind of alarm that hadn't been heard in 10,000 years. "Incoming signal," a technician shouted. "It's coming from deep space, old frequency, Terran origin." Tyrell's mind raced. "They'll think it's an invasion." Lyra looked toward the stars through the viewing window, her voice calm and cold. "They're not wrong." Far beyond the academy, something moved in the void. A colossal shadow cutting across the stars. Ancient engines awakening from eternal sleep. The AI's final words echoed softly. "Eden Prime responding to Terran command. Estimated arrival, 4 hours," Tyrell whispered. "By the stars, what have you done?" Lyra turned toward him, her blue eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "I haven't done anything," she said quietly. "I just reminded the galaxy what they chose to forget." Outside, the stars flickered, as if the universe itself was holding its breath again. The silence before the storm had begun. The awakening signal. HFY Sci-Fi Story. The Academy drifted in silence above the red star, its once steady hum now replaced by the heavy pulse of the awakening signal. Every screen, every sensor, and every communication node flickered with blue light, the color of Terran code. Across the halls, cadets whispered in fear. Instructors argued with one another, and the station's AI repeated the same haunting phrase. "Terran beacon active, awaiting command authority." Lyra stood at the observation window, staring into the darkness of space. Far away, beyond the system's edge, she could feel something moving, not with her eyes, but with something deeper. It was like a heartbeat, slow, powerful, ancient, calling out to her blood. Her hand pressed against the cold glass, and she whispered softly, "You heard me, didn't you?" Behind her, Commander Tyrell entered the room, his expression pale, his crest lying flat against his scaled head. "Cadet," he said carefully, "we've received transmissions from nearby sectors. All ships are detecting the same signal." Lyra turned to him, her voice calm but distant. "They're afraid." Tyrell nodded. "Every system that still runs old Terran tech is responding. Entire colonies are locking down. No one knows what's happening." He paused, his voice lowering. "You started something the Council can't control. Lyra looked back at the stars, her tone quiet. I didn't start it, Commander. I just woke it up at that moment. Alarms blared across the command deck. The technicians shouted. Long-range scanners picking up movement. Massive object approaching at sublight speed. Terrell rushed to the console. Show me. A holographic image appeared. A vast shadow gliding through the void the size of a small moon. Its surface was scarred, metallic, ancient. But its engines burned with blue Terran energy. The AI spoke again. Identification confirmed. Terran Ark vessel, Eden Prime. Everyone froze. No one had ever seen a ship like that. Not even in the oldest records. It was built for war. For colonization, for survival. A relic from a time when humanity ruled the stars and made the galaxy tremble. Terrell whispered, that ship shouldn't exist. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly as she watched the hologram. It always existed, she said softly. It was just waiting for the right signal. The room fell silent again as Eden Prime slowed its approach. Its colossal structure shimmered under the dying light of the red star. Thousands of dormant systems across the Academy began to react. Doors locking, lights dimming, internal AI links severing. It was as if the station itself was kneeling, submitting to the greater power it once served. Then, a new voice broke through the comms, a deep, commanding tone, echoing from the ship's frequency. Identification. Terran Beacon Alpha detected. Requesting command validation. Lyra's breath caught. She stepped forward unconsciously. This is Cadet Lyra of the Galactic Academy, she said, her voice trembling slightly. I don't know how to respond, the voice replied instantly. Biometric signature matches archived command chain. Authorization recognized. Welcome back. Commander, every cadet, every officer, every alien in that room turned to stare at her, Terrell whispered. Commander? Lyra's eyes widened in disbelief. That's not possible, she said softly. I'm not. The voice interrupted again. Command presence confirmed. Initializing approach vector. On the hologram, Eden Prime began to glow, its engines roaring to life after millennia of silence. Its weapon systems powered up, not in aggression but as if stretching muscles long unused. A swarm of drones detached from its hull, small, silver, and graceful. They formed patterns across the void. Ancient Terran formations used in planetary defense. The Academy shook as the ship's shadow passed over it, blocking the red star completely for the first time. The cadets saw the true size of Terran engineering. It was not a ship, it was a floating fortress. A city built by gods of steel and will. The Academy's AI whispered softly. Eden Prime requests docking permission. Terrell's voice cracked. We can't stop it, it's overriding every code. Lyra felt her heart pounding. She didn't know what she was supposed to do. Part of her wanted to run, part of her wanted to cry, and part of her wanted to know everything. Why me? She whispered, why did it choose me? The AI answered, because you are the last one. The final command key, the bloodline of Earth. Those words echoed through her soul. Memories flashed, dreams of oceans, blue skies, the scent of rain, and the warmth of sunlight on her face. Images she had never lived but somehow remembered. She was not just a cadet. She was the legacy of a world that refused to die. Outside, Eden Prime aligned itself with the Academy. Giant hangar doors opened, revealing a chamber glowing with blue light. The comms flickered once more. Commander Lyra? The bridge awaits, Terrell turned to her. Fear and awe mixed in his voice. If you go, the Council will brand you a threat. Lyra smiled faintly, her eyes filled with calm determination. They already have, she said. But I am done hiding. She walked toward the docking bay, the floor trembling beneath her steps as the massive Terran vessel loomed closer. Cadets watched in silence as the airlock opened, revealing the golden-lit corridor of a ship untouched by time. As she stepped inside, the doors closed behind her, and the AI's voice whispered one final phrase through every speaker in the Academy. Humanity has reawakened, and for the first time in 10,000 years, the stars trembled not in fear of death, but in recognition of a returning power. The power of Earth, the Council's fear. HFY Sci-Fi Story, far above the quiet Academy. The message of Eden Prime spread like wildfire through the galaxy. Every major network, every sensor array, every planetary defense system caught the same signal. Terran command re-established. For centuries, the galaxy had whispered about the Deathworlders, about the humans who vanished after turning the stars to fire. Now that old nightmare had stirred again. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, high above the glittering world of Vothar Prime, 12 ancient species gathered, their faces reflected in the great crystal table, cold, silent, afraid. The council speaker, a tall insectoid with silver mandibles, slammed his claw on the surface. "This cannot be real," he hissed. The Terrans were erased, their worlds burned, their code deleted, an elder serpent being replied, his voice trembling. "And yet the signature is exact. Terran encryption level Omega-9. Only their command DNA can unlock it." A low murmur filled the room. "They warned this would happen," one whispered. "They said one day a child of Earth would return." The speaker turned sharply, his voice full of venom. "If the Terrans awaken, every system will fall under their control again. We must stop it before it spreads." Another counselor shook her head. "You cannot stop what was built into the bones of the galaxy. Every major system runs on re-engineered human code," the speaker hissed. "Then we erase the source. This—" Lyra, meanwhile, on the Academy's docking bridge. Lyra stood in awe aboard Eden Prime. The ship was alive. Machines hummed softly. Lights responded to her every movement. Old Terran symbols glowed along the walls, speaking in languages forgotten by time. "Welcome home, Commander," the ship's AI said, its voice deep and gentle. Lyra's heart trembled. "Home," she whispered, tasting the word like it belonged to her soul. Back at the Academy, Commander Tyrell watched the massive vessel hover silently outside the windows. It emitted no threat signals, no weapons active, yet every alien instinct told him to kneel. He opened a private communication link to Lyra. "Cadet, no, Commander, listen to me. The Council has declared you a galactic threat." Lyra's voice came through calm. "I expected that. They've sent fleets," Tyrell said. "Hundreds of ships heading this way." Lyra looked at the glowing console before her, the old Terran insignia shining like fire. "Then it's time they remembered why they feared us," she whispered. Deep in the council chamber, panic spread like wildfire. Reports flooded in. Defense networks were failing. Satellites refusing council commands. A terrified officer shouted, "Entire fleets are losing communication. Their systems are switching to Terran override protocols." The speaker roared, "Shut it down! Disable everything linked to the old code." "It's too late," someone cried. "The command route is inside the galaxy's infrastructure. It's reactivating itself." Across hundreds of worlds, strange blue lights began to appear. Satellites, drones, and ancient orbitals long thought dead suddenly awakening. Civilian ships stopped mid-flight, whispering through comms of voices in the system, voices that spoke in the old Terran tongue. The galaxy was remembering. Lyra stood at the command bridge of Eden Prime. Before her stretched a vast display of stars, each glowing dot pulsing faintly blue. "Status report," she said quietly, and the ship answered. "Terran defense nodes reactivating across 6,000 sectors. Awaiting your orders." She closed her eyes, feeling the hum of ancient machines. A part of her wanted to be afraid, but another part, deeper, older, felt peace. "This is who we were," she whispered. "Not conquerors, not monsters, but builders. Protectors," the AI replied. "Then command us once more, so that peace may return. On Vothar Prime." The speaker's rage turned to desperation. He broadcast a public declaration across all networks. "By order of the Galactic Council, humanity is hereby classified as a hostile extinction-class species. Any system aiding the Terran entity will face annihilation." But his words came too late. Half the Council's own defense grid had already switched allegiance, responding to Lyra's genetic command. Their weapons refused to fire, their ships refused to move. The galaxy's ultimate power had already changed hands. Back on Eden Prime, Tyrell appeared on the holoscreen, his voice heavy with conflict. "They're afraid, Lyra. Afraid of what you represent?" Lyra looked at him gently. "They should be. They think you'll destroy everything," he said. Lyra smiled faintly. "I don't want destruction. Commander, I want memory." "Memory?" "Yes," she said softly. "They erased Earth to bury their guilt, but the truth will not stay buried." A deep rumble filled the bridge, and the AI announced, "Incoming Council fleet detected, weapons armed, defensive systems ready." Lyra's hand hovered over the command console, her reflection shimmering in the blue light. For a long moment she said nothing, her eyes distant and calm. Then she whispered, "No, We don't start with fire. We start with mercy. The ship obeyed, lowering its weapon output, sending instead a single signal across all frequencies. It was not a threat, it was music, soft, ancient, and human. A melody carried through radio waves across the void. The same lullaby once sung on Earth to calm frightened children. Every being who heard it froze, their hearts trembling with something they didn't understand. Peace. Even the council chamber fell silent. The speaker's voice cracked. What? What is this? An elder whispered, It's human. And for the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy did not hear the sound of war. It heard the sound of remembrance. But deep within the council's secret files, a darker protocol began to awaken. One that had been built specifically for this day, a weapon meant to end humanity forever. Its codename was Final Silence, and while Lyra stood under the starlight of her ancestors, she did not yet know that the true enemy had just awakened too. The council was done being afraid. Now they wanted to erase Earth again, this time forever. The Return of Earth. HFY Sci-Fi Story Eden. Prime drifted above the Academy like a sleeping god, its surface glowing with the soft pulse of blue light. Below, every cadet, every officer, every ship in orbit watched in silence, unable to comprehend the power before them. The great Terran ship had not fired a single weapon, yet the galaxy trembled, because power unspoken was more terrifying than power displayed. Inside the command bridge, Lyra stood before a panoramic window, the stars burning quietly beyond. Her reflection looked older now, wiser, colder, touched by the weight of destiny. The ship's AI spoke gently. Council fleets approaching. 93 vessels in formation. Lyra's voice was calm. And our systems? All Terran defense networks are active, awaiting confirmation of global coordination. Global coordination? She repeated softly. You mean Earth? The AI hesitated. Its tone reverent. Affirmative, Commander Lyra. Origin beacon detected, coordinates traced to Sol system. For a heartbeat, she couldn't breathe. Her chest tightened as a single word filled her mind. Home. Commander Terrell appeared on the main screen, his face lined with fear and awe. The Council's entire armada is coming, he said. They've activated Final Silence, and Lyra frowned. Now what is that? Terrell's eyes darkened. A weapon built from Terran remains. They studied what they destroyed, and made something worse. Lyra's hands clenched, her voice cold. Then they'll pay for using our dead as weapons. Alarms pulsed through Eden Prime. Echoing like thunder in a cathedral, the AI announced. Council fleet entering engagement range, awaiting command. Lyra closed her eyes, the memory of Earth's lullaby still whispering in her mind. Transmit a message, she said. To every Terran system, to every forgotten outpost. To every sleeper ship still listening. The AI waited. Message content? Her voice hardened. Tell them, the daughter of Earth has returned. A surge of energy rippled through space, faster than light from the outer rim to the galactic core. Abandoned colonies blinked awake. Ships buried under ice, satellites trapped in orbit. AIs lost in silence all responded. Signal received, returning to command. The galaxy shuddered as thousands of Terran signatures flared back into existence. The Council's perfect order began to crumble. On Vothar Prime, panic exploded across the Council chamber. Screens filled with reports. Entire sectors shifting to Terran control. Defense systems shutting down. Fleets defecting. The speaker screamed, Launch Final Silence now. Technicians obeyed, their trembling hands activating a black code weapon orbiting the galactic core. A massive sphere of dark energy, older than any star, began to hum, the speaker sneered. Let their return end where it began. Back on Eden Prime, the AI spoke urgently. Energy distortion detected near galactic center. Final Silence charging. Lyra turned to the viewing window, the distant glow of the weapon pulsing faintly in the void. Her voice dropped to a whisper. So this is how they ended us before, the AI answered. Historical data confirms Final Silence was the weapon that burned Earth. Lyra's breath trembled, but her eyes hardened like steel. Not this time, she said. Activate shield sequence prime code. Across the ship's hull, millions of panels opened like petals, releasing waves of blue energy. The light spread outward, wrapping the Academy. The orbit, the nearby moons, a protective field forged from the oldest Terran alloy. Shield online, the AI reported, but power consumption critical, Lyra replied softly. Do it anyway, the Council's weapon fired. A beam of pure darkness cut across the stars. A silent scream of energy meant to erase worlds. Planets along its path disintegrated into dust. Moons cracked, space itself warped. When it reached Eden Prime, the blue shield met the black flame. Light against dark, creation against erasure. The collision lit up the sky of 100 worlds. Cadets fell to their knees, watching as the impossible battle of forces raged silently before them. Inside Eden Prime, the ship groaned, metal bending under the ancient strain. The AI reported, shields at 70%, reactor overload imminent. Lyra pressed her palm to the command console, her voice steady. Redirect power from life support. I'll hold the rest. The AI hesitated. That could kill you. Lyra smiled faintly. It won't, not yet. The energy surged through her, her veins glowing faintly blue. Her DNA, the same pattern that once bound the galaxy's most feared civilization, synchronized with Eden Prime's core. Every system obeyed. Every circuit sang. Commander Lyra linked. Human signature dominant, the AI announced. And then, with a sound like a heartbeat, the black beam shattered. The Council's weapon broke apart, scattering into nothingness across the galaxy. Millions watched as the darkness vanished, replaced by a single signal transmitted from Eden Prime. A voice spoke through every comm channel. Every network, every mind connected to the stars. I am Lyra of Earth, daughter of those you tried to erase. Humanity never died. It waited. Her words rolled like thunder through the void. Your council feared us because they knew we would return. Not as tyrants, but as truth. The message ended, and the galaxy fell silent on Vothar Prime. The council chamber lay in ruins, their weapon destroyed by its own reflection. The speaker collapsed to his knees, whispering, "They're back." Terrell watched from the academy window as Eden Prime's light faded to a gentle glow. He whispered, "To think." The myth was true all along. Lyra stood alone on the bridge. The AI quiet now, the galaxy listening. "Send a final message to Earth," she said. The AI replied, "Connection restored, Sol system online." Lyra smiled, tears shining in her eyes. "Tell them we're coming home." And as Eden Prime turned toward the distant light of Sol, the stars themselves seemed to brighten, welcoming their lost children back. For the first time in 10,000 years, Earth was not a memory, it was a destination. The silence before the storm. HFY Sci-Fi Story. Eden Prime drifted through the dark sea of stars, its hull scarred from the clash that had shaken half the galaxy. Around it, the Academy floated in silence, its lights dimmed, its crew staring out in quiet disbelief. The great warship had stopped the Council's ultimate weapon, and yet Lyra stood motionless at the window, as if listening to something only she could hear. The AI's calm voice broke the stillness. Council transmissions have ceased. No remaining command signatures detected. Lyra exhaled slowly. So it's done. But deep in her chest she knew the truth. Victory was never the end. It was the beginning of something greater. Commander Terrell entered the bridge, moving carefully as if stepping into a holy place. The Terran symbols glowed faintly along the walls, forming gentle blue lines that pulsed like veins. He looked at her with quiet respect. The Council is in chaos. Their fleets have surrendered or gone dark. What will you do now? Lyra turned to face him, her expression unreadable. What every human was meant to do, she said softly. Rebuild across the galaxy. Old Terran outposts answered her call on distant moons. Forgotten cities lit their power grids again. In the black reaches beyond the rim, sleeper colonies woke from hibernation. Millions of AI cores whispered the same phrase. Command restored. The age of silence was ending, but not all shared her peace. Fragments of the Council still survived. Broken leaders hiding in the void, plotting revenge. In secret channels they whispered of unity against the Deathworlder Queen, as they now called her. Lyra felt their hatred even before the sensors detected them. Let them come, she said. They'll see what mercy means. The AI shifted its tone. Incoming transmission from Sol system. Signal carrier Gaia 1 origin Earth. Lyra froze, her breath catching. Earth, she repeated quietly. The screen filled with static, then slowly an image appeared. A planet of blue oceans and white clouds shining like a jewel among the stars. For a moment she couldn't speak. Her voice broke when she whispered, "It's beautiful." The signal strengthened, and a voice older than time echoed through the bridge. Terran Command. This is Gaia 1. Automated Defense Network online. Identity confirmed. Welcome home. Tears filled her eyes. Home, she said again, her hands trembling. The AI bowed its tone as if kneeling. Orders? Commander Lyra. She smiled faintly. Plot a course to Sol, and tell the others to follow. Eden Prime's engines ignited with a thunderous hum. The glow spread along its wings, brighter than a sunrise. Behind it, hundreds of Terran ships fell into formation. Vessels that had slept for 10,000 years now awake and loyal once more. From the Academy's deck, the cadets watched in silence. Witnessing history written before their eyes, Terrell whispered, "She's leading them home." As the fleet began to move, the AI spoke softly. Warning, unknown object approaching from deep space, Lyra turned. Council survivors? Negative, the AI replied. Signature, unidentified Terran origin. The hologram flickered, revealing a colossal structure drifting through the void. Larger than Eden Prime itself, its hull bore a single word. Earth Guardian. Lyra's eyes widened. That ship? It shouldn't exist, the AI answered. It predates the Council War. Final prototype of the Earth Guardian project. Primary function, planetary restoration. The massive ship transmitted a single message. Commander Lyra, we have waited for you. The voice was warm, human, alive, Lyra whispered. Then we are not alone. Eden Prime and Earth Guardian aligned their courses. Twin giants of forgotten power moving side by side through the darkness. Behind them, smaller ships followed, thousands strong. It was not an army. It was a civilization returning from the dead. A tide of light crossing the void, heading home on Vothar Prime. The last remnants of the Council watched from broken satellites. One elder said bitterly, "We thought we destroyed them." Another whispered, "No, we only taught them to wait." Back on the bridge, Lyra stared into the glowing horizon where Earth's sun waited. She could almost feel its warmth. Even across the endless dark, set course, she said. Her voice steady. Sol system full speed. The AI replied. Course locked, travel time. 3 months. Warp corridor opening. The stars around them stretched into silver lines. The sound of the engines grew to a soft, endless hum, and as the fleet vanished into the light, a quiet stillness settled over the galaxy. The kind of silence that comes not from fear, but from respect. Lyra stood tall on the command bridge, the ghost of a smile on her lips. The storm is over, she murmured, but peace. Peace is the beginning, the AI answered softly. Then let us begin again. Beyond them, the stars gleamed brighter than they had in ages. 1,000,000 worlds turning their gaze toward the returning light. For the first time in 10,000 years, the galaxy remembered not its conquerors but its creators. Humanity had come back from legend, and this time, it would not fade into silence.